Hello, I'm Paul McKenna, and these are some of the questions that I get asked most often. Can everyone be hypnotized? Now, the answer is yes. Everyone can be hypnotized. I've never found anybody who can't be, but not everybody can be cured using hypnosis or successfully treated. But hypnosis is natural. A lovely description is that it's the loss of the multiplicity of the foci of attention. In other words, instead of focusing on lots of things, you focus on one thing to the exclusion of all others. A bit like when you're watching television. You forget about the carpet and the curtains and the table, and you suspend disbelief and you engage with what's going on the screen. So with hypnosis, for many people, it's like a state of focus. It often involves relaxation, and it's natural. Can hypnosis help with anxiety? Well, of course, it absolutely can. In fact, it's probably the single best technique because it involves deep relaxation, imagination of nice things, our memories. And through the power of hypnotic suggestion, you can program the subconscious mind to feel more resilient, more empowered, instead of feeling stressed and anxious. And of course, anxiety is an emotion. It's telling you, be prepared. But when you're experiencing too much anxiety, it's exhausting, it's uncomfortable. And so you don't want to live in an anxious state of mind. You want to be aware of things you need to be prepared for, and that's all. So anxiety is basically the system overprotecting itself, and hypnosis can definitely help with that. Interesting question here about purpose. Now, I love the quote, and I live by this. Purpose is the cornerstone of good mental health, said by the legendary psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. Now, for me, finding purpose, it could be big things, like changing the world, or it could be small things like being a good husband today or something like that. But for me, purpose comes from my values. So to me, my personal values are health, are things like creativity, freedom. Do I get to choose most things I do each day? Love, kindness, those sorts of things. And so out of that, I can devise small purposes for the day or a grand purpose for my entire life. So an interesting question here about sleep patterns. Basically, we have a natural cycle of sleep and waking called the circadian rhythm. And that can get interrupted because everybody at some point in their life has some interruption to their sleep. But there's a number of things you can do that really enhance it. Now, one of the things is to get up half an hour earlier than your normal waking time, right? So if you normally get up at 7, get up at 6:30. That resets the circadian rhythm. The other thing is really important is, don't go to bed unless you're tired. These people who go to bed and they try and will themselves to go to sleep, stay more awake. Or they get anxious that they're not going to be able to sleep, so by the time they get into bed, they're all wound up, and of course, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you're in bed for more than 30 minutes and you're not asleep, get up and do something boring, right? That'll really help you get to sleep. I often get asked, is hypnosis a good way to stop smoking and vaping? Well, actually, it's the best way, according to some studies. And that's because smoking and vaping is a way of controlling stress. When you smoke a cigarette or you vape, what happens is it's actually an attack on the body, and the body produces an endorphin release, which is like a natural high, euphoria, in response. So what happens is when you stop smoking or vaping, you get cravings because the endorphins haven't had their signal to release. Now, with hypnosis, a couple of things happen. Firstly, the power of suggestion means that it goes into your unconscious mind to help you stop smoking and vaping. But also the deep relaxation and the creation of positive mental and physical states means that you don't need the cigarettes or the vaping to feel good. You feel good naturally without smoking or vaping. So a lot of people ask me about imposter syndrome. Now, this is really common, and usually it occurs when we move outside our comfort zone. We get promoted, or we're put into a new position in some way, and a part of us that wants to check in and go, "Ooh, can we handle this?" is doing its job, but it overdoes it and goes, oh crikey, maybe I'm not that good and I'm going to get out before I'm found out. And that's something that a lot of people experience at various points in their life, and it's okay. But using modern psychological techniques, we can actually increase our confidence. We can increase our flexibility to respond to situations. We can increase our resilience so we don't need to feel that imposter syndrome. So one of the questions I've been asked here is about misophonia, right? This is a condition where people get really upset, like, rageful about somebody breathing too loud or the crunching sound of an apple or something like that. Now, what happens is, because they've got a heightened sensitivity to this particular sound or trigger, they then try and suppress that, which means it actually amplifies it. And so they walk around on eggshells, terrified that they're going to explode at somebody for what is seemingly not an important reason. But all it is it's a perception in the brain that's created this rage and then is amplified because of the situation. And of course, it can be easily treated with hypnosis and modern psychological techniques. So this question's about advice on a breakup. Now, of course, when we break up with somebody, very often it can be emotionally upsetting. There can be love pain. And that's usually down to the amount of future that you had invested in the other person. So when that future is cancelled, obviously there's grief because somebody who was meaningful to us has gone. And there are ways to deal with this because people actually naturally get over heartbreak, but some people take longer than others. There's a trance I've recorded with my colleague, Dr. Hugh Wilborn, called I Can Mend Your Broken Heart. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. Okay, so this question's about financial advice. I would strongly suggest my book, I Can Make You Rich. I studied rich people and I found out that they have certain ways of thinking and acting which make them rich. And not just wealthy, but rich in every sense. Also, the techniques for getting rich are also on my app, which you can find in the App Store. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, just put them in the comments and I'll do my best to get around to answering them.